What is up, everybody? Welcome to Patriots and Petticoats. Very excited to come to you on this fabulous Sunday evening. And allow me to introduce first, before we go forward, my co hosts of the evening. We have Chris from Patriot Sports Radio, we have Eric from Patriot Sports Radio, and then you have myself, literally Heather from Shouse in the house. We are coming to you guys. We got a few goals in mind when we started this. I do a solo show, mostly political, but it's just a morning show where I read through the news. And then I do interviews with other people, but I don't really get to sit and have regular discussions on what takes place over the course of a week, or what overarching themes that I feel like we're missing the boat on. And I wanted to have a little bit more long form conversation. If you guys have followed me for any period of time, you know that I have had multiple live streams with Chris and Eric on other platforms. So we kind of talked about it. We really wanted to come together. We have good chemistry, and we think that you guys would benefit from our discussions. We're going to bring you some heavy topics that we're going to debate amongst one another. We invite audience participation, debate with us, fight with us, tell us all of the things that you hate about the things we're saying, or that you love about what we're saying. It's really easy to give the hate, not so easy to give the love. With that being said, we will also be having some contests that you guys can participate in. We will be featuring a segment every week that is called Two Truths and a Lie. I will be reading to the boys, gentlemen, men, they are not boys. I will be reading two headlines that are real, one headline that is not real. And they will have to pick which ones are, or which one is the lie. Audience gets to participate here as well. I will be keeping track of scores. So over the course of a quarter, so about 3 months, we'll tally the scores of our regular participants on the audience side, in as well as the hosts themselves. And one will get an award and bragging rights here on the show until the next quarter. And then audience will get a prize. We haven't determined what that's going to be yet, but that will happen. Joey has joined us, found the coolest people on YouTube. Mwah, thank you so much. With that being said, I'm going to kick it over to Chris and kind of give him the opportunity to set the stage, set the tone for today's episode and what has been on our minds. Chris, go for it.
Thanks, Heather. So I'm gonna read a little something that I'd written down a whole bunch of just gross blobs of ideas, and then Heather like took that and made it into something that had like coherent sentences and thoughts. So thank you for that, Heather. I'm gonna read it. It's something that I think that this show's kind of the foundation of the show is gonna be for today's show, and probably moving forward, just some information and then a whole bunch of discussion. So with that, I will start. Citizenship is a duty to your country. In both the ancient and modern world, countries have been known as unions of people that can talk together and share a common goal. Lincoln said that every nation has central ideas from which all its thoughts radiate. Likewise, Aristotle said that since we see that every city is some sort of partnership and every partnership is constituted for the sake of some good, it is clear that all partnerships aim at some good, a common good. Fellow citizens are people that share a sense of the good. Why is that dying? What is going on? I would argue that it's not just that the practice of citizenship is dying. I would also contend that the practice of contributing to your country and helping in its governance is declining, and it's increasingly being replaced by the global state, governed by one particular form of government, the bureaucratic form. This This form of government relies on the appointment of experts to make detailed rules about every aspect of our lives, and we must then all live under these rules. This supposedly makes society safer and better functioning. It forces a change that gives the government the status of a citizen. Tocqueville addresses this in his 1830s book, Democracy in America, that he wrote after visiting the United States. He discusses local government and says that in Europe, they see a public official as an authority, a force. But in America, we see a public official as a right. In other words, you see a mayor or a cop, and you think that is someone working for us to help us live better, and their responsibility is to the country and the citizens. Whereas in a bureaucracy, they are an authority. Try to reason with Anthony Fauci. It's a perfect example of this. His expertise was relied upon to enact several rules that infringed heavily upon our civil rights, and he became an authority figure in the United States, although he was never elected to anything. Humans naturally want to be free. We want to govern ourselves. The more we are governed, the more we sacrifice our station and our opportunity as a citizen. Our spirit is to try to fix our problems ourselves. So if citizenship dies, what follows is not unity. What follows is chaos and division. The people on the people on top get to tell who what to do. As a citizen, when you see a problem, you get to working on the problem. You find a solution and you get other citizens from your community together and fix the situation locally. We saw this through the pandemic. In bureaucracy, like with the pandemic, every agency is competing for money, power, prestige, and authority. In addition to civilian citizenship, I'd like to discuss the military a little. Americans have always fought well, yet we are not a martial society. Governors are good, yet modern and Romans were great too. We have been like them. We have fought well over the we have fought well all over the world, and that's kind of odd. We are all free citizens, and the military isn't the heart of America. We fight the same as the Greeks. Everyone had a form and they all had personal or everyone had a farm and they all had personal stake in the war and the well-being of the regime, families and country. It's like the conversation that I love between Xerius and the Persian king and the defected Spartan. He said, "I don't understand these Greek formations. No one is whipping them." He replied, "No one does. They whip themselves." Xerius thought that was funny at the time, but later fought them himself and was not laughing because a, they were fighting as a free people. Freedom can be taken away, and we all know that, and that has been pounded in our heads, but can also be given away out of sheer ignorance.
Yeah.
That was my thoughts of the day.
So I want you to expand a little bit upon this citizenship, the idea, because I think a lot of people, certainly in my circle, like if you, the people who follow me and things like that, it's very much about the individual and individual liberty, individual responsibility, individual, all of that stuff. So because we've gotten so far away from community, we don't want to help thy neighbor. We only want to help ourselves. It's become an incredibly selfish and self-centered society. And I think, how do you still maintain your individual independence while still being a contributing member of society and hoping that you are contributing? Like, how does that look for you guys?
As far as so maintaining my individual liberties, I guess, how would that affect me as a civilian? Is that what you're asking? Or
Yeah, well, I mean, like, mask mandates. We'll use that as just an example, right? A mask mandate came out. You didn't want to fucking wear a mask. You didn't care about whether or not you got anybody sick. You wanted to just be free to breathe clean air like a normal human being. You go to uh, the store, you go to Walmart, and Susie Joe fucks around, wants to come over and tell you, put your mask on your face or yell at you or So are you then by using your individual liberty to do what you think is best for yourself, are you then imposing on or not being a good citizen, a good member of society?
So here's how I see it. We have already taken that turn to bureaucracy, Heather, right? So mandating a mask should have never been a first. That shouldn't happen in the first place, right? That's is the Fauci effect, right? And but this has been happening since I mean, I can't. I'm sure I could go back and we could find it since the damn thing was signed. The Constitution was signed. I mean, people have been trying to amend the damn thing, right? And adding wings of bureaucracy, and it's all at the cost of life will be a little simpler. So that's so as a citizen, I should never be mandated to do anything ever. So we've already crossed the line, right?
Yep.
So now what do we do? And that's what we're here for. And I don't know exactly what to do, but I've racked my brain since 2018, 19, 20, all that, like, what is happening? How do we pump the brakes? Where do we start? And how did we get here? And
Yeah.
what is our future? So here I go digging into history.
Excuse me.
Let's go back to the Romans. Like, what happened? Like, that was such a great ideal.
Right.
And it was, and it lasted for a really, really long time until they got really fat and happy at the top, or leisure. And I don't know what a artsy word is.
Degeneracy.
Yeah. Well, they just stopped giving a fuck about the people, is what happened. And they got so big that they had armies in Germany that were now speaking German. They had armies on the northern border of Africa that they don't know each other, and they're not even assimilated to the Roman Empire anymore. And then there's no really borders. So
Right.
once there's no borders, you can't assimilate. Once you can't assimilate, there's no culture. Once there's no culture, I mean, what do you have? You have a tribalism,
Right.
which was like your Scandinavia area back then and all that. Germany.
So speaking of Alexei de Tocqueville, the comment that you made in your monologue, where he's talking about the way that the governance works in the United States, how local government, like your local community, that kind of stuff. I've preached this for a long time, but I think that people, you talk about nobody wants to participate anymore. They're completely apathetic to the idea of civil service.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but do they understand it like the kids? So is this our fault? Did we not teach our children civic duty? And that's probably what's happened, right? So our grandparents taught our parents. Our parents said "F you" and "fuck Vietnam." And then we were born a bunch of latchkey kids because our moms went to work, and then it's just been boom, 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 way downhill after that. Now that citizenship is just a bounty and there's nothing in return, right? So
Yeah.
I get all the good stuff that comes of being an American citizen, but I don't want to put back in.
Yeah.
And you can't, and that's just defies all logic. It just doesn't work.
I think that's the core of what being a citizen is contribution. You should be, if you consider yourself as a citizen of a community or a state or whatever, then that means you're either working or you're furthering your education. You're doing something to contribute to that society. And that's the only way it keeps working. And that's the only way anybody takes any pride in it, is if they
Oh,
have
self
some
worth
sort
is
of
born there.
sweat into it. Yeah. Like, and then, you have this social contract, like with the masks. Had there been study after study coming out that said, masks are 80% effective or even 60% effective in public spaces, then the social contract would have dictated, and people like myself would have worn the mask because it would be making a difference. But it turned into just something to fight about and posture with. So that's basically how I dealt with everything in the COVID times, was if I'm seeing something working in the real world, then I'll do that. If I see something not having any effect, and that's just an agreement among each other. And when you were talking about the Roman Empire, I think there's a number of people that's too many. There's a certain amount of people who can agree on something and a certain value system and make that work. But it gets to a point where neighbor doesn't know neighbor anymore. And that's not something, nobody told me to be an alderman. I was coming home from school and making dinner. So, civil service wasn't something that was pushed on or even suggested to me. Maybe that was the detachment.
I want to go back to Joey's comment. Freedom's never more, than one generation away from extinction. Great quote. Lexi said civic service also became a career when it was not originally intended to be. That's very true. Going back to what you just mentioned, Eric, someday I will not be hacking up
you
my
are
lungs.
Fast on the cough button, though.
I know. It's like I've become so like, it's like because of my morning show. I told people like I need to put a camera like just to watch me record a morning show. The number of times that I have to like stop, hack my lungs up, drink about a gallon of water, then come back and record the next section. It's ridiculous. But anyway, to your point that you just made about you don't even know thy neighbor anymore. And I wonder if there is an element of this that is an urban/rural divide as well. And it's really interesting to me because in rural areas, you're much farther apart from like your neighbor. Like I have one neighbor, it's Miss Mary. She's 84 years old and she will bake me pies and bread and I'll go help her with her trash can, or you know what I mean? Like there's a sense of community just between the two of us right here in the middle of nowhere. But if I were to go to New York and move into an apartment with thousands of other people in the same unit or the same building and walk down the sidewalk and watch somebody get their ass beat on the sidewalk, I'm pulling my phone out to record it. I'm ignoring it and walking right past it. And it's crazy that those two things are reversed. You don't know thy neighbor, but you're spending way more time around way more people versus the countryside. So I wonder how that happened. Like, how did we get to the point where you're in a box with a whole bunch of people and you know none of them?
Yeah, it's a recent development, and we've seen how much things have changed in just the past few years. It doesn't take long to disconnect. Like there's no such thing as borrowing a cup of sugar from somebody, or when I was a kid, I would come home sometimes after school and mom wasn't home or dad wasn't home. I'd go next door to the old lady and knock on the door, hey, and she'd let me watch cartoons over there. There was a community, and there's not that anymore at all. It didn't take long.
And the IQ is dropping as a whole in America.
What's even scarier is we don't seem very concerned about that at all. I saw an article stating, trying to tell me why that's actually a good thing. I didn't read it. But
yeah.
Shit.
Here's why it's not such a bad thing, or something along those lines.
I'm going to read Angela's comment real quick. The scene is that Americans are overworked and overextended. They do not make time to help others because they haven't gotten theirs. Not my problem mentality.
Mm-hmm.
That's very true. But are they really overworked and overextended? I mean, they're talking about having 4-day work weeks now to help with the work-life balance. Most people, because of COVID, work from home now. I'm not talking about you, Mr.
No. I'm just saying, just go grab a book and read what the Oregon Trail was about, and then come back and see if you're overworked. That's ridiculous. It's a bureaucracy that we live in. That's what that is. People don't have any will to go build it themselves and do their own thing. That's the American spirit has been broken by bureaucracy.
Yeah. It's far too lucrative to do nothing than it is to innovate or make the best this or that.
So that's kind of how I wanted to tag, like melt all that into like what's happening now.
I mean, you have 16-year-old girls going and making OnlyFans accounts.
Yeah.
Like
that's the American innovation these days.
Right. Yeah. There's no ingenuity anymore. There is, I would say, probably, I would argue against myself in the tech industry. Like, there's probably ingenuity there. But with, AI and that kind of stuff, we're getting incredibly far away from like physical ingenuity. Like, let me find a way to make uh, production. Can we make it cheaper? Can we make it here in the United States? Nobody's trying to figure that question out. We're trying to figure out how to suck China's dick so they can continue production over there and we can still get all
It's
of
hard because we have our hand on Saudi's balls. We're really stretched out.
Yep.
We're really like,
And
we're going to get.
we have all those human rights violations that they're just trying to look past every single day. That, everything you buy comes from some kind of human rights violation. And, you selectively preach that it's bad in certain places, but not when it comes to your iPhone 14. That thing can't be more than $1,000. $1,000's already too much.
But capitalism is bad.
Yeah.
I'm just going to tweet that out from my Samsung phone real fast. Joey said, gonna go there for a second, but it's as much a problem of secularization as it is a rural urban divide. He goes on and says, we've forgotten how to comfort others, quote, with the same comfort with which we ourselves are comforted by God. 2 Corinthians 2:4. So that's a really good point. And I think, I've had multiple discussions about religion. So I don't know that I've ever shared with either of the two of you before, but I've been practicing Buddhism for a really long time. I lost my, I guess, Christian faith, but I still needed something, right? Like, I wanted something spiritual that I could find myself in. And really, and this, I'm not going to go in this big, long religious rant, but all faiths, Judaism, Christianity, Catholicism, Buddhism, Hindu, like if you really boil them all down, they're all about just being good fucking human beings. Like, that's what it boils down to, right?
Don't be a dick is the root of all religions.
Yeah.
Treat others like you'd like to be treated.
But it's funny because in my little community, we have tons of churches, like tons of them, but most of them are abandoned now. People don't go to church anymore. People don't. So when Chris talks about lack of community, that was the community, right? Like that was
was all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you went, you had your Sunday bake sales, you had your potlucks with your,
Sunday
what I mean?
school. Like, you had Sunday school, then you had church, then you had dinner, then you broke bread.
School. Like that
you get
was
a whole loaf of banana bread for $2.50 at them bake sales, and it was the best banana bread you've ever had in your life.
Or the zucchini bread. Oh God, I miss Martha's zucchini bread. Like, I'm not gonna lie, she passed away.
And then everybody had a sense of responsibility, right?
Okay.
So and pride.
If you have a 3-year-old son, and you've been taking that kid for 3 years to church, and everybody in the community's held your son for 3 years, and then your son goes over there and busts anything he does for the rest of his life, he has a whole village watching out. Everybody's invested in this, and you're invested in their kids, and they're invested in your kids.
Yeah.
And that is how we survive.
If your heat goes out, the community is not going to let that child freeze.
No, the heat and air guy goes over and does that locally. Your local heat and air guy gets up and goes and does that.
Yeah. And then you get free banana bread.
Communities. That's it. For cookies, I've done it. Absolutely. Because some people are on fixed incomes. I mean, this is just how communities work, and it should always have operated. And how did that? So I think Heather knows how that ended.
Because I've listened to her talk. Mwah. Love you. Glad to have you in here today.
Patriot Girl Prepper. I'm a fan already.
Angela says they are not overworked or overextended. That's why I put it in quotes. Exactly. Absolutely. Lazy.
Heather, that probably gets. Go ahead. Sorry. Yeah, it should be.
I love that idea. You take 10th and 11th graders and you just put them to work in the community.
They do that here.
Give them some
responsibility. But it's not required. You got to be in the certain groups. Yeah. At least sell some brats.
At least make them run a cash register or wait tables for a year and a half to 2 years, because that really humbles you as a human being, and it improves how you treat other people.
I want to go back to what Chris was just talking about real fast about like you that woman has been holding your son for 7 years or 3 years or whatever. A lot of the things that we see today is the youth, right? We see young individuals beating the shit out of one another and enjoying it,
No
laughing, filming
accountability.
it,
Yeah.
having a great time. Where the fuck are their parents? Where are their neighbors? Where are the adults that are supposed to be actually engaged in making sure this community doesn't fall apart, right? And you're seeing drugs and just, I don't know, like I remember growing up, and I know this makes me sound like back in my day, like the fucking old person in the room or whatever, but that was not like it just wasn't a concern. Like you stuck up for the person who was being beat up. You didn't join in or film it. Like you took care of your fellow schoolmates, your fellow neighbors. Like it just,
Because everybody grew up together.
yeah.
Exactly.
That's why.
So you think it's like maybe this, like, where they're consolidating schools, the school systems have just gotten bigger, so you've got kids that don't really know each other. Like, is that what
The
you're saying?
government is raising these children.
You don't see a pile.
120%. The only adult figures they might see throughout the day is at school. And those adult figures, and I think a lot of cities, and I don't know this to be true, but this is what I've read and what we talk about all the time, is a lot of them are learning that they're just victims.
Yeah.
So not everything goes. You're a victim. You're a victim.
You're not going to succeed anyway because of a
You're not
broken system.
Yeah, we're not teaching accountability.
So don't even try.
This is what happens when the government raises your kids. This is a huge mess. Now, we're going to talk probably for the next however long we're on the podcast about how to fix this, but it really starts with citizenship. And how do we start lopping off some of these bureaucracies? Like how to just get the Milwaukee chainsaw in there and just start cutting the fucking shit apart, shaving the government down like the Federalist Papers.
Well, it makes me think about, you guys know, like so I watched Candace Owens's documentary on George Floyd yesterday, and I don't know what prompted me to sit and watch that, but when she was going through, they still have, where George Floyd was killed, they still have a Chaz type place, like a place that is
sovereign,
just a lawless block
or whatever. Yeah. And I would love to start seeing local sovereign territories, but done through like a legal fashion, meaning the state government, the federal government has no power here. This is handled by our mayor, our city councils, our sheriff. We don't need your outside influence.
Or
then you
your
start
taxes money.
Huh?
Or your tax money.
Right. Our citizens are no longer paying you federal dollars because we don't need those back in our community. We're going to keep those here. We're going to create tax shelters for our citizens. Their money that they earn stays here. We're going to encourage them to write exempt on their federal forms and all tax. So if we need a project here, we need some potholes filled, we'll crowdfund that within this local community.
Yep.
Your local businesses, all of that, they'll pitch in. We'll take care of this road.
Bring the grader. Tom will get the backhoe.
Yep.
We'll have a couple kids shovel. We'll be all
exactly.
Right.
We'll be good.
Obviously there are probably some major legal ramifications from that, but that's like the direction that I would like to start seeing us go in, right? Like these, or even state sanctuaries where states are like, look, we don't want your money anymore, but we're also not going to have our citizens pay that anymore. If you live in this state, you no longer have to pay federal taxes. We're not accepting federal dollars as a state, so you don't have to pay it by living here.
I like it.
I'm just nostalgic. I just want to try to whittle America back to normal.
Yeah.
But I just don't. Hey, I'm not saying that it can even be done.
Yeah. Rudy says this is the culmination of the Great Society Act. Lone Wolf Ranger said, remember when community service was extra credit or just for your college application? Making people work for a mandated certificate is slavery.
Heather Kilroy over on Getter says, bring God back to the country. And you know what? I agree with that. And I'm not a smart guy, so I go to spiritual kindergarten and I keep everything real simple. And I just think of God as good, orderly direction. And yes, we could use some good, orderly direction.
That
right
would
now.
require all the TikTok stars, which is 50% of people, to have some humility and understand there's something bigger than themselves.
I think it's the politicians that would have to get there, and I don't know how they get there.
I mean, it's probably both.
And there's it used to be a handful. Now there's 2 million bureaucrats in this country now.
That's
And
way
there's
too
over 150, 170 lawmaking agencies, Heather. Lawmaking agencies, not Congress. No. So
But that's our fault, right?
That is
So-
absolutely our fault.
Yeah.
Is
so
that
I
not
wanna
a
go back to
bureaucrat
your-
for every like 150 people?
Yeah, that's a lot.
I want to go back to
Yeah.
your like being a good citizen, like participating, citizenship, right?
Yes.
You have the ability to vote. And everybody's like, well, my vote doesn't count.
Not
my
the
vote
ability,
doesn't
you have the
matter."
responsibility.
Right.
It's
Yes.
not just the ability.
Yeah.
It's part of your civic responsibility.
Yes.
That's the one. That's
Yeah.
that's the deal.
Gonna need your input on this one.
And
Mhm.
so I mean, we've allowed this. We've allowed to politicians that have no vested interest in the local communities to go in and say, you know what? I'm just going to kind of like go ahead and give this power and authority over to these people because I don't want to take the time to write a bill for every single one of these things. That's too much. I don't have time for that. I have a vacation I need to go on here in a little bit. And so I'm just going to give this to the Commerce Secretary or the ATF or
also, Heather, because and for a long time, not just like recently, for a long time in America, it's also you only have 4 years to get your agenda done to try to get elected again. All right. And our system, as written in the Constitution, is supposed to move at a snail's pace. It's intentional.
Yeah. You need multiple rounds of people wanting the same thing for it to actually really move in that
were cherry picking from the Greek and the Roman, their ideas, and we were like buffeting on this shit,
That's how you ensure a majority is making the decision.
We're very scared of government getting too big. We were very nervous about that. So we made sure that it would move at a snail's pace.
It does not move at a snail's pace.
The Democrats hated that.
Well, these emergency powers don't exactly fit with that whole ideal.
Yeah, oh yeah, our Supreme Court now makes all the laws. What's Congress? But Congress is a fucking TikTok video constantly. It's a fucking never-ending stream reel of somebody getting the next viral fucking hit of I got them to say yeah or whatever.
That was my Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez impression where she's acting like fucking Hitler on the podium.
Jesus.
Sorry.
She's so animated.
Do you think it was always like that? You think that's how Ben Franklin was? I bet.
No.
I bet they were actually.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
I bet they were incredibly animated.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like think about like Patrick Henry's speech.
It was
right?
like Scrabble. Everybody, who's going to use the biggest word today?
For sure.
Dude with the ink pen's like, you motherfucker.
Whose wig is going to fall off while they give their speech today?
I'm going to say Mississippi 300 times.
Do you guys want to get into some of the topics? Actually, let's do 2 truths and a lie. Let's do that. You guys want to do that real fast?
Sure.
Okay. So 2 of these headlines are real. One of them is fake. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm going to go to Angela's question real quick because it pertains to what we were just talking about. Would sovereign states be able to overcome natural disasters without federal aid? Legit question. I'm clueless on that part. That's a very good question. I don't know the answer. I don't have all the answers, but I'm so sorry. I think that you have Habitat for Humanity, right? They build houses for people who can't afford it. I'm certain that you could bring your community together in a time where natural disasters occurred. Insurance plays a role. Your community can help you rebuild. I think that it's like Chris is saying, like we need to stop relying on the government to be the answer to things like that. We should be relying on our community to do. Am I right about that? Or
$1 million houses shouldn't be a fucking thing, first
No.
of all. Yeah, life would be a little bit harder. It would be a whole lot less anxiety. People would live longer. You would simply just be
Much.
happier. But would you have 17 bedrooms and 39
No.
bathrooms and 14 living rooms? No.
No, you
God
would not.
bless. We would have a little common sense and a little sense of humility. We would build what we have, and we would help each other as a community. Oh my God, I'm getting all weird about it. Like, we'll live off the land. Like, yeah, there's TV shows about that.
There's some deers outside. We'll be fine.
No, but I'm just saying that that we have become such consumers and robot consumers that that would have to end. If you wanted something, you would save up for it, or you would build it.
right.
We have a real obsession with stuff.
We do.
And if you have to build it, you would pick and choose a little bit more of what you actually need and not so much what you want.
So this gets into like when we talk about, it's really fun to like kind of reference back to what you're talking about. This goes into that selfish nature of society, right? Well, I want the 5 bedrooms and 6 bathrooms, or what if I worked hard? I should have that, whether you say I should or not. But to your point, okay, fine, build it yourself. Like, I think that
Or get your buddies.
yeah.
But I don't know. It feels almost unsalvageable, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's gotten a little out of control right now. There's I think there was a bunch of roads before that we had a duty to stop this, and we just didn't. That might have been that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Now it's steamrolled. I don't exactly know where to go from here. Except for preaching how important a nuclear family is, and not preaching, whatever word you want to say, talking about how important community is, and we have to somehow bring God back into this, or some kind of faith. You have to. There's got to be something bigger than yourself, a common good that everybody's moving towards, and that used to be faith,
Right.
and God on Sundays. That everybody was trying to be a little bit better than they were the day before. And some people, as long as the masses are moving in that direction, there's always the stragglers and the outliers, always. But as long as the masses were moving in that way, then the country was always stable. The masses have stopped moving that way.
Yeah.
Now but we are always going to worship something.
Are you going to worship what you're being told or what you feel?
And this here inside becomes of where we are today in 2023, which I know Heather and I know my friend Eric have a shit ton of opinions on what we're worshiping and what is being worshipped. And when I say worshipped, I mean practiced, screamed, yelled about, whatever, shutting up the other side. This is the only way. It's cult-like.
We're currently creating a being in our image.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really coming full circle.
So Patriot Girl Prepper is a longtime, very good friend of mine, and I love her to pieces. She does legitimate prepping. She has a farm. She has goats. She does her own gardening. She does all of the things. But I highly encourage anybody who's in here who does not follow her, MB, go comment on the Twitter post and let people know your handle and stuff, or even here in the chat if you want to. She's pretty fantastic and a phenomenal resource to anybody who's looking to really legitimately work on trying not to be such a consumer and more of a community-based person.
Yeah, like the shit's getting near the fan, so you're gonna want to make friends with people named Patriot Girl Prepper. That's just a great friend to have. I
Yeah.
love everything about that name. We're gonna get along great.
She's pretty
All right.
fantastic. Jake says humanism is the current state religion. Or yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that. And it's disappointing. It's disappointing that I would argue the state is the religion even. Like it's they don't
Yeah.
want you to worship God, they want you to worship the state. They want you to love your government, rely on your government, need your government, depend on your government.
I was really shocked and just disappointed by what a real crisis did to how my fellow Americans reacted to a legitimate crisis when they were really scared. They essentially turned on each other and common sense went out the window. And
Yeah.
it became, yeah, you either obey and you're part of this, what has become a religion, the science, or you're not and you're the problem. Like the unmasked, the unvaccinated are the affliction. Like it started to really,
Yeah.
when, I mean, we're destroying. There's a lot of parallels between
It's
just picking a group.
and what's disappointing, like I think maybe the most frustrating thing out of that whole situation is now the vindication coming on the back end. And oh, okay, so we were right all along? And
Yeah.
and now you're not even willing to say, "Sorry for the way we treated you. Sorry we were wrong." Because that's pretty much all anybody wants, right? Like just a
All we're
little
looking
bit of
for.
personal accountability. I
A
want
little bit of
Anthony
that.
Fauci to come out and say, "I lied to all of you and I'm sorry."
I thought I was doing the right thing
Yep.
by pushing you guys in this direction. However you want to explain it, I thought it was for the best that you all wear 3 masks and you take the vaccinations and you don't know what you're talking about when you say it doesn't work. But I understand now, I'm sorry. But he doesn't. He just went and hid. It came out that he killed some beagles and he went under a rock.
Oh my God, Eric, I can't be sick
I didn't know
and
I
you
had
do
a
your
Fauci
Anthony
in there.
Fauci voice. Like I can't do it.
I didn't know I had that club in the bag. I do
Oh
need a new
man,
bubbly water though.
that was a good one. Angela says dependency, you hit it on the head, brutal truth. 100%. Okay, I'm gonna wait till Eric comes back to do two truths and a lie. So I think so here's the thing. When you start talking about accountability, right? Like us, the people holding you accountable, government, then you're a domestic extremist. You're a terrorist if you say that we should be held accountable. And they've passed rules, edicts. They have enforcement agencies who are in a position of authority to use against you. And like, what do we do about that? You can't even quote the Declaration of Independence anymore. That's you're starting to get into seditious territory.
What a beautiful document, though, right?
Yeah,
If
oh
you
God,
talk
it's so
about her,
great.
yeah,
I told
you
somebody the other
celebrate.
day I was going to start doing like ASMR videos. But
I'm
I'm
more
just
of a
gonna,
constitutional guy because it's more schematic, more like more structured.
sure.
But the Declaration, we should do
More
some
emotional.
playlist on this channel where we talk about the Federalist Papers, the Constitution,
Oh yeah,
and the
for sure. So I have
and
this
do some
book.
like fun videos on
I
our thoughts on
recommend
it.
this book to everybody. Not that everybody likes to read, but this is We the People. It's the documents and writings of the founding fathers. And
Oh,
this has
great book.
everything from uh it's everything. It has the Federalist Papers, the Anti-Federalist Papers, it has all of it in there. So I highly recommend that to anybody to have on their
So
shelf.
But it's the least satisfying I told you so of all time.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
So Heather's right. So the only way we're going to, or I just jumped in here. I don't even know if this is what you guys were talking about, but the only way to fix this is to come together locally and start it from the bottom up. It's the only way to fix this. And we have to do it while the Supreme Court is what it is right now.
So I
Rhode
think
Island is neither a road nor an island. Discuss.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So I do think, speaking about like additional content that we should bring to the channel, some shorts or something like that, but I think it would be a really good idea to talk about, because I think it's lack of knowledge too, right? Like when we talk about getting involved in your local government, most people don't even know how to do that. Like,
So that's
sorry,
exactly right, Heather. And the reason why I was talking about citizenship is because when I was asking people in my day to day about what does it mean to be a citizen, and all I got a whole bunch of was paying taxes. I thought, my gosh, they're right. I mean, that's what we've been saying. Like, we've really forgotten the root of citizenship. We've forgotten the Romans, the Greeks. We forgot.
Well, they used to get receipts. They knew where the money was going. We don't know where the fuck our tax.
So we had to. That's exactly right. They could go to the house with, and they actually had habeas corpus. Do we even? Is that a thing anymore? I don't know. But we're also, Heather, as a constitutional republic, an actual constitutional republic, multiracial and multi-religious. This was a new idea, and the Romans had it pretty. I mean, the Romans had it whittled to where you had to like own property and be a male, and I mean, their voting, it was pretty constrained. Georgia thinks their laws are bad. Just a second, hold my beer. Roma said, "Hold my beer." So, but what I guess what I'm saying is that, as far as, nope, I lost my thought. Dang it.
I like what Jake said. They want you to love your government because the government is absolving them of their behavior. Everything they did was justified because they were saving grandma, or at least that's what they were telling themselves.
Well, but what I'm saying though is it's fixable. It's fixable, like, for communities to do it. It's not going to be everywhere. You're going to have to do it in your own community, and you're going to have to find like-minded people. And do you think that, guys, that the founding fathers thought that like-minded people would reside in the states with other like-minded people?
Probably.
They didn't kept everything in the states.
They saw a lot of stuff coming. When you look at those documents, you're like, wow, how did you see us already going that far and worrying about, putting checks and balances in here? But they didn't see us not having face-to-face interaction coming, like people just isolated in their homes being fed a stream of personalized information. That's
the document still works.
This stuff you're talking about requires people to shake hands and make eye contact and have a conversation.
But the stuff you're talking about, Eric, requires, like, they've had to really dismantle this fucking thing to get there. To get us there. So they didn't probably see that. They saw it as pretty ironclad. What do you think, Heather?
Well, I was just going to say, it's funny, like, we're sitting here talking about like the founding documents, the founding fathers, the foresight that they had, the care and concern that they had. So when, the theme of this episode is really citizenship, and it's sad to me, there are so many people that don't even know any of that. Like, they know nothing of our founding fathers, they know nothing of our founding documents, and they live in the greatest country in the world and don't realize why, and have no reverence for these individuals or what kind of effort had to go into the country that we live in today.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there because honestly, you're talking about a bunch of white male slave owners right now, and it's very problematic. I don't understand how you could be talking about these people with any reverence, as you say.
Yeah. And that's what you're the sad thing, right? Yeah.
That's what you're met with a lot of the time.
Yeah.
From kids who have not been taught real American history.
No. is some bastardized version of it. Howard Zinn did more to ruin historical appreciation than probably any author, I would argue, of all time. Jake says that's why they intended the states to have more power. The smaller the unit, the more that government can represent its people. That's why I always argue, like anytime I get into these discussions, I firmly believe that the wrong side won. It should have been the anti-federalists, not the federalists. But that is a story for another day. Joey said, what are your guys' thoughts on Robert Heinlein's conception of citizenship? I'm probably going to just tell you that I have no fucking clue what Robert Heinlein.
Boy, I feel a lot better right now.
We should have Joey on. We should have Joey on.
Joey, you can come be a guest and tell us Robert Heinlein's concept of citizenship, because I have no fucking clue.
I only have the concept that I know in my head. That's what I wrote down.
I can Google it really fast and pretend I know what you're talking about, but I don't. I have no clue.
Yep. I made the decision early not to pretend I knew what I was talking about. I said, all right, when we go around, I'm just going to say I don't know.
Yeah.
Heather, real quick, I wanted to get your thoughts on the Stanford issue. The Stanford deal where the federal judge was asked to come there and speak, and they started to shout him down, and the DEI instructor. Do you know this story, Eric?
I saw bits and pieces of it. Yeah, I saw the kids in the hallway. Every single one of them just ugly as shit.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Vile, talking about his kids.
There's not one attractive person who's concerned with this, apparently.
Right at Stanford. So did you see that, Heather?
Political theorist mode activate.
That's awesome.
No, I knew that Michael Knowles had gone to speak to Purdue, but the Stanford thing I'm not clear on. I don't know what you guys are talking about. So tell me what happened and I'll give you my thoughts.
I don't know the judge's name. I should, but he went to go speak. He was asked to go speak by, what is the organization in Stanford?
Is this the same, like the Virality Project? Is this the same group that Matt Taibbi was talking about?
No, this was a bunch of all the law school students that did this.
What? Yeah, we're fucked, man.
What happened?
We're fucked. These are the bricks that are building the system.
Yeah.
Okay, so judge goes to speak to a law school.
Yeah, Stanford Law School, and they absolutely were all in there, and they shouted him down and screamed the worst obscenities to him. And so he called to have a staffer or dean come, and it happened to be the dean of DEI, their DEI dean, and she came in and had a written speech for him
about how terrible he is.
Yes.
So this was a total ambush.
It was an absolute ambush. And so far, one dean has been suspended, but
children.
It was all law school students, and they were screaming vile stuff at this guy. And this is the judge that had not called. So there was a dude that got busted for murder. Said he was a woman because he wanted to go to a woman's prison, raped a girl or something. Do you remember?
No, what?
And then this is the judge that pulled him out and said, "No, you're a dude." And then that's why the Stanford.
Trans rights are human rights.
Yes. And how are we going to allow all these students to take the bar?
Okay, so I'm actually probably gonna disagree.
How can they become DAs in the future?
So, prohibiting him from speaking, they shouldn't. However, I am a free speech absolutist, and I believe that they have the right to protest. So I'm kind of torn on this issue. Like, I don't.
So this is what I'm talking about. So I understand that, right? But if you invite a federal judge to come speak at your law school just to ambush him, and we call that a first right, like this is your right to do this to this guy, as one of the most prestigious law programs. This is what we're teaching our law students. This is what law is. At what point do we say, no, as citizens, this is wrong?
It's a
We do
decency
not-
issue.
Yeah, it's a decorum issue, right? This is not how we practice law in America. And this is not, because these are the kids that are going to be on the bench
Yeah.
when we're
Yikes.
old.
So, okay, I don't agree with you on this. Like, there is no such thing as decorum with free speech. I will look at you and tell you, fuck you, and I have the right to say that, right? Whether you're a judge, I don't give a shit. We put our pants on the same way every single day. I have the right for whatever words I want to come out of my mouth to come out of my mouth. However, when you guys say these are the people that will be on the bench, there's a high bar for that, right? Like, they have to make it
Is
through
there?
law school.
No, because we have people getting that going in for going into be up for confirmation in the Senate. They don't even know what the Bradley law is. The bar is not very high because they have free speech. What if they just say they're lawyers? They're lawyers.
Who's the
If
guy
they
that just
say they
lied his
are.
way into office?
Yeah.
Santos.
So okay. So you're
This
free
is a hard
speech.
position for me.
It's
Like,
not. It's not a hard position. It's how do you want your society to run? Do you want there to be a judicial side or not? Or do you want that just to be an activist side?
Hold on. I want to go through some of these real quick. I'll respond.
That's a great point. The law students, like, you may have to litigate in front of this person.
And then when it comes to doctors and they're just screaming about stuff, but so they don't actually know how to do surgery, but that's okay, right? Because they have free speech.
Well, we're
They
going to be
didn't have
socialized
time.
medicine anyway, so there's
Never
shitty
been
surgeries
anyone's
to fit right
interpretation
in.
of free speech ever. You don't have a right to trespass or riot. Was this a trespass and riot, or were they students and allowed to be there?
They were students.
Yeah, they were law students.
lining the hallways.
Lining the
making
hallways, calling some bio. Oh, it was awful.
And riot, did they
children.
actually destroy property? Like, was this like, so like,
I
I
don't know
remember
about that.
when Ann Coulter went to Portland, I think is where it was, they fucking destroyed some shit. That was a riot. So I want to make sure, again, because I don't know all
I don't
of the
think
details of
anything
this.
they did was illegal. I think what it was morally
Yeah.
like, what the fuck? So just because you have the right to do it, should you? Isn't that where citizenship comes into play? Where in order for us to have all these free God-given liberties, we have to respect one another. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
Joey is
Because we're multiracial, multi-religious, multi-sexual, I guess now. We're all kinds of multis. There's a whole bunch of us. How do we make that work?
We respect other people's individual liberties. Like, I think that, so when you guys start talking
But
about,
here's the deal. That is
there's
their
a difference
liberty.
for me. There's a difference between can and should, right? These people can do this. Should they? No, I would say they should not have done what they did. They definitely should not. If they invited him to come speak and then did this, that is just, that's ridiculous.
Should we allow them to take the bar? As citizens, is this who we want on the?
Do you remember the little
is this our
dude who was
future?
in the car and said the N-word, and Florida didn't let him come play football there? You guys remember that?
No.
You guys don't remember the boy that was like committed and had a scholarship? He was going to play for a Florida school. I'm not sure which one. He was in a car singing a song with some friends.
Oh, yes.
Said the N-word.
Yeah.
And
I remember that.
Then was not allowed to go to the school from that point. His scholarship was revoked.
Right.
So can and should. He had the right to say the word. Should he have said it on video? Probably not.
Yeah, there's
But should he have still been able to go to school?
Here's where it gets even dicier. He's just singing a song.
Nope. But going back to this shouting people down, I think in a society that's working properly, in a healthy society, these students would have chosen a representative to debate the judge and had a conversation. Let him speak and then you speak like human beings. Joey is just unintentionally owning me in the comment section, talking about a bunch of shit that I don't know what it is.
Lexi said, I think the issue was the protest or their disagreement, but he couldn't speak at all.
Mm-hmm.
They would yell over him, let him speak, and then argue, which is always my position. I think a lot of the people who are in the chat right now are definitely Liberty Happy Hour attendees. I always come in, give your position, and then debate the topic. You don't attack people, you attack ideas. And so in this particular, again, I would like to read up on this before I really formulate my position. But I'm still traditionally, I'm always going to be on the side of someone's right to say whatever they want. But should they behave in this form or fashion? No, if we're talking about citizenship, that's not going to work. We can't keep doing that. We can't keep screaming at people because they don't agree with us and expecting that to be how we come to an understanding or an agreement with one another. That's not how that works. And you can't hate someone just because they have a different idea than you or just because they have a different belief than you.
You can, but it's not productive.
Person.
And it doesn't matter because a fucking bureaucrat's going to make the decision anyways. So who gives a fuck? So until 2/3 of us can band together and fix this, and that's what it will take. You want to get banned from YouTube? 2/3 of us go right exempt on our taxes and then go sit down at the house. And in about 3 days, we'll get a phone call. Hey, what do y'all want? What are y'all thinking about? You guys want to have some dinner? Or
envelope's a little light this month.
But honestly, really, we could vote and we will vote and we will vote and vote and vote. And bureaucrats will call, there will be an emergency and bureaucrats will extend their arm and extend their arm and extend their arm. And our opportunities and our land will get fewer and fewer and fewer.
Okay.
Oh, one more thing. I want to know your one thought real quick, Heather.
Okay, ask me.
So TikTok, Chinese spyware, or Facebook's really pissed because they're just getting their ass kicked and they called some favors into this with some buddies.
Can it be both? I think both
absolutely
things can be true. Yeah.
I think it's
and I don't think
and
it's
I think
just
Facebook is also Chinese spyware.
It's Chinese spyware,
Chinese spyware
versus American spyware. It's all the same.
I think that it's so interesting when you see such bipartisan support for something, it starts to make you wonder. And I think there's a part of me that worries. In my experience on TikTok, and I've shared this with people before, my TikTok experience is incredibly good. Like, I don't have a negative experience on TikTok. It feeds me things. Everybody's like, well, can they manipulate the algorithm? Well, sure they can. They can manipulate any algorithm. But that algorithm is based on my searches, what am I watching? And when they're like, it sends you bad stuff. Well, stop fucking watching bad stuff and it won't send it to you anymore. Like, you can manipulate that as the user too.
Facebook feeds me almost entirely fishing videos and industrial accidents because that's what, and matadors getting fucked up by bulls. Because that's what I want.
Eric,
I want to see a cruise ship crash into a dock and a crane tip over.
When I'm coughing. It says, oh, here we go. I'm with Chris. It's 100% both. Zuck calling in the favors for the 2020 Zuckerbucks. Yeah, the dollars for the voting. 2024, Joey. We've moved on past 2020.
And we are going to have fun this election season, aren't we, Heather?
Yes, we are. I'm so excited that we started this show coming into primary season, election season. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. But to your question about the TikTok thing, I watched the hearing with the little Chinese guy. And the one thing that stood out to me the most that I thought was interesting was where he was talking about he was asked by a congressional member, why does your 8-year-old son not have TikTok? And his response was, in Singapore, we do not have the targeted, or the under 13 experience is what he called it. And when she asked, why is that experience not available worldwide? Why is that not available everywhere? And his response was, well, we don't want to target under 13-year-olds from an advertising perspective, but we do in the United States.
Yep.
So when going back to Eric, you made the point earlier about the consumerism and that kind of stuff. They know spoiled ass American children.
They have
are gonna
purchasing power.
Yeah, they do. They're going to go to their parents and say, I want. Okay, fine. And then the parent's going to buy it. So
Sometimes they
there
don't even
is
ask
a
anymore.
legitimate, that doesn't happen in those other countries. They look at, they're like, so there's no
They
reason
parent.
for them to target 8-year-old.
There's no market. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
parent there.
Yeah.
Parents have different ways they like to spend their money rather than
Yep.
shit on TikTok in Singapore. Like
Yes.
food.
Yep. Jake says, how much ammo should I buy before the election?
Jake, you should be making your own ammo by the election.
Yeah, that's a long time from now in Biden years.
Yeah. God, we
Oh,
can't. Are we gonna make it? We're gonna make it. Pick.
Okay. You guys ready for 2 truths and a lie?
Yes. Oh,
Yes.
yeah. Hell yeah.
Okay.
This is gonna be ridiculous.
So, first article. Book thief in plot that duped famous authors avoids prison. It was the stuff of novels. For years, a con artist plagued the publishing industry, impersonating editors and agents to pull off hundreds of literary heists. But the manuscripts obtained from the high-profile authors was never resold or leaked, rendering the thefts all the more perplexing and hard to find. That is Article 1. Article 2. Audience, just real quick before I go through the last 2 articles, if you weren't here at the top of the show, this is our audience participation segment. This is 2 truths and a lie. And you guys can participate by choosing which article, and don't cheat, like be like legitimate about this.
Oh, she got her mom. Her mom.
Yeah, I got my mom finger out there.
It's-
Her mom
Be
yeah.
honest. You guys can say which article is the lie, and I will be keeping track. I've got my little pen and paper handy here. And after 3 months, so we're going to do this quarterly, there will be a prize available for the person with the most points. You get 5 points for picking the correct answer. Okay, so that was story number 1. Story number 2. Man gets 12 and a half years for the role in an $8 million online romance scam.
Ooh.
A Massachusetts
Entrepreneur.
man convicted of helping steal millions of dollars from hundreds of people in online romance scams, often regaling the victims with stories of oil rig explosions, foreign jails, has been sentenced to 12 and a half years in prison. That is story number 2.
I saw the Tinder swindler, so I believe that one.
Story
I've watched
number
all of American Greed, Heather. So
Story
every
number
episode.
3. 2, escape jail and go to IHOP, where patrons report them. 2 inmates in a Virginia jail used spoons and made tools to create a hole in the wall of their cell and escape, only to be found a few hours later at an IHOP restaurant nearby after locals called them in. Which story is the lie?
Damn it. This is hard. You know what? Okay, Eric, can we talk it
They
out?
always get caught at dumb places like IHOP.
You
But
guys can talk it out.
There was a
But you guys are competing against one another.
Shit. Okay.
So you guys can talk it out. I think that would be a good idea. Give your arguments as to which one you think. Audience, if you guys know which one you would like to choose, Angela says number 1 is the lie. I apologize, Jake, real quick. I'll tell you while they're thinking about it. Number 1, a book thief that duped many famous authors has now avoided prison. It was a con artist who was calling editors and agents and asked them for manuscripts, obtained them, but never resold or leaked them.
So he just has a collection somewhere.
All right, so Lexi says number 1. Angela says number 1. Rudy says number 2. Kate, shout out to Kate, Chris's wife, who is watching the show. She says number 3. Gentlemen, I feel like we should play like the Jeopardy. Chris, you should put the Jeopardy music on your little sound bar thing.
I will. I will for next time. I think.
Yep. I think it's the first
going-
one because these prisoners always get caught at some place like an IHOP.
I'm going. So I heard the story of the prison story, but that's not the one I heard. Didn't end that way. So I'm going number 3. Number 3.
Number 3, and is that the one you chose too, Eric?
I picked number 1.
Number 1. Okay.
I believe the IHOP story.
Okay.
Very believe. I mean, if that was Florida, it's spot on.
So the answer is number 2 is the lie.
We're both wrong.
It is a real story, but
Rudy.
the time that he got in prison was only 4.5 years, not 12.5 years.
Oh, I didn't know the
She
rules
got
of
us
the
on
story
a
then.
technicality.
Yeah, I thought I thought you made up one like that completely. Like you made it up.
Well,
in your
I can
head.
do that. I just
Let's do
figured
that
if
for
I
next
changed
time.
it.
No, because then I'd have to know every story on the internet, and there's no way.
So
We're easily duped.
this
Rudy did nail
is
it,
so
though.
$8 million, and the dude only gets 4.5 years.
That's crazy.
He stole $8 million
That's not long at
from
all.
defenseless women.
So he's gonna get out in 2.
Wow.
Yeah. Or even if
18
not serve
months.
any time.
Babe,
He may get out. He may not even see the prison yard. He may do a year in county,
Baby,
and they don't even get him shipped.
I was on an oil rig and it
And
exploded,
it
and I
exploded. I need
swam
money.
all the way to shore, but I had no money because my debit card was on the oil rig when it exploded.
The only thing that kept me alive swimming through those dark shark infested waters was your face in my mind, knowing that if I reached shore, I would get back to you. Can I have
Holy
$500?
So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit more about each of these stories real fast because I actually found them incredibly interesting. So the book thief plot is very interesting. So this dude worked for a publishing company for a short period of time. And he really wanted like to be in that scene. Like he loved to read. He wanted to be in the publishing world and ended
This
up
person may also have killed people.
he got fired or quit the job. It doesn't specify. He just was no longer working there. And when he left, he still knew the name of one of the people at the publishing company. So he spoofed their email address and reached out to Kevin Bacon, another woman, Margaret Atwood, famous authors, and got them to send him their manuscripts. But it's not because he wanted to make money off of it. He just wanted to advance read them. He wanted like the early access to these people's books.
Wow, that's so
He didn't check their Patreon.
This
He
stuff
could just signed up for their Patreon.
Yeah, he could have got exclusive content that way.
Oh, that's funny.
That's insane. I'll be right back.
The dude, Kofi Osai, and his alleged accomplices targeted mostly older women seeking companionship by creating fake online dating profiles. Typical catfish situation. Transferred money to dozens of bank accounts using fake passports, aliases, phony business names. This was an incredibly elaborate scam. Oh my God. Okay. So I'm going to go through some of these comments real quick while Chris stepped away. So hold on. We have our guesses. It looks like Rudy and Jake both said number 2. So Rudy and Jake got 5 points.
Nice.
Angela said premature manuscriptulation. Wah, wah, wah. Oh, that's great. Okay.
Wow. Somebody is going to go clear out their dead uncle's house and find a box full of manuscripts of like, whatever.
Well, he was caught.
Footloose
He was
and
caught, but he received no jail time because he didn't do anything with the manuscripts.
that's wild.
He
What a
pleaded
weird
out, so he
case.
didn't have to do any jail time. Crazy.
What a weird case.
Super crazy. And then the two that escaped jail, I just thought this was so like Shawshank Redemption-esque. And how, like, okay, I'm gonna share this to the chat actually, because I just want you guys to see this hole. It's so like I can't believe it.
They did this with spoons?
Yes.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah. Like just right there in their jail cell.
See, that's American determination and ingenuity
We
right
talked
there.
about ingenuity. That's about as ingenuity as you can get at that point.
Yeah.
So the really crazy thing, it said that the two men, ages 37 and 43, missing from their cell in the Newport News jail annex during a routine head count. Preliminary investigation found the men exploited weaknesses in the jail's construction design, used tools made from a toothbrush. The other thing, the metal object was a spoon, to
One of these
access
guys is a
rebars
contractor.
between the walls and then use the rebar to further their escape, the statement said. After escaping, they scaled a containment wall around the jail. But here's my thing about this. How bad is your actual jail staff that not only did you have time, because I
Yeah.
mean, this isn't even Shawshank Redemption. They didn't have the half-naked poster of the woman to hide their hole.
No.
How are you so bad at your job that they were able to do this? Like that is a mess right there.
Yeah. That's a an excavation site.
Yeah.
How
then
do
it's
you not notice?
And the really funny thing is they go on and they're like, the charges that they were originally in there for. So one man was in custody on charges including contempt of court and probation violations. So like
you're escaping over that?
Yeah, and then another one was including credit card fraud, forgery, grand larceny, and a probation violation.
Well, maybe that could be 15. That could be 12 to 15.
A little bit longer,
I'd
right?
think
Yeah.
about it.
So crazy stuff. A couple things that we had discussed about talking about this week. I don't know if you guys want to discuss this. I know we've been on here for almost an hour and 20 minutes. And Eric, I know that you like to get in bed, but I didn't know if you guys wanted to discuss any of this other stuff. The digital blackface article by CNN. Did you guys have an opportunity to read that article?
I saw that a little bit ago. Yeah. The not being able to express yourself using GIFs of black people, when the Stanley laughing GIF is my number one favorite one to use. So
yes,
you can have that when you pry from my cold dead hands.
Hold on, I'm gonna go through these chats real quick because I just saw one that's funny. Joey says, to be honest, if I could get early access to like Brandon Sanderson's next book, I'd do that too. Jake says, from 90s hungover Matt Walsh. Lexi says, well, the rebar in the wall helped once they got in there. Yes, you are correct. Rudy said they thought they threw off the cops by not going to Waffle House.
That's true. It did take an extra half hour to find them.
Oh, shit. No need to read it. We got the point. I don't know what you're talking about, Lexi. But, yeah. So, this is kind of like when Chris was talking about like citizenship and stuff like that, like community. I don't go outside and look at someone and be like, did you use a white person GIF? Because I can't be friends with you. Did you use a black person GIF? Because I can't be friends with you. Like that isn't how I operate in society. No. And
I don't think it's how the average person operates either.
And the media is hell bent on dividing us. Like they
I was just gonna say
that's all they say.
DEI Diversity. So we have absolutely not once in the last 5 years I've even heard the word similarity. Like what we have in common are similarities, where we can start to build a foundation as humans, right?
Right.
No. We are far too different to ever do that. This is all by design. This is top down shit.
Yeah.
You can't talk about that because you are not of the Mexican descent. You can't talk about that because you're not Jewish. You can't
This is
talk
the
about
this
like
goes
what?
to this goes to the bureaucracy I was talking about. This is where only the educated will need to rule us. That's the, but you have to do it. It can only be done through coercion. And
Rudy is only going to use black person gifs from now on.
yep, yep, that's right. And the people's cut.
I'm only using Michael Jackson gifts. I'm really gonna fuck with people. They won't know what to think.
Yep.
I found a woman going, what?
What's year?
But
Because
she
that could
had
go either way.
blackface on and she was
Oh, yeah.
black. So I was like, ×2, motherfucker.
Perfect.
Yep. The other thing, okay. So I do want to at least momentarily discuss the whole Fetterman issue. The man has been MIA for a hot minute, right? He got elected and
month?
automatically went into a mental health facility, right?
Yeah, he was in a state.
Rehabilitation unit.
So I'm going to share. I don't know how to do this. Cancel that. Okay, learning how to do all of the fun things on live.
Yeah.
So I have desktop Fetterman photos.
Clickety clack.
I know. I'm
File,
sorry. Okay,
action.
I think I can do it now. Okay.
To Heather, all things are possible.
So we
Not
got
all things, but
we have a stand-in now, a WWF stand-in. They went to the WWE.
We got this is the Ultimate Warrior.
Okay.
The Ultimates.
okay.
Is that the same guy?
So the
Well,
question
that's
is,
but a little long.
is
little
this
long
the
in
same person? I have a really hard time with this. Like, that is the same hoodie the man was wearing in his little like photo op that he did whenever
You
they
lose some
came.
weight
In the
Look at
ears?
the ears, though.
How do you lose weight in your
Shit,
ears?
sorry. My thing is the
His
nose.
nose is
Or
broke.
your
You'll
brow.
notice his nose is like curved, but
This
in the other
this guy's
photograph,
broke.
it's not.
So this guy's nose on the right has been broke once at least.
Yeah.
Isn't one guy's head shorter and more compact?
Yeah, absolutely. And the chin is way more square.
Yeah, we
So
got a square chin and a roundish chin here.
And the head, right? Like the top of the
it's
skull.
longer.
One is like more like kind of pointed, and the other one is more of like a round
dome.
Just a slightly more competent look in the eye on the right too.
Yeah.
Looks like he's looking at the camera.
Okay, so we got audience. I'd like to hear what you guys think. Jake says, nope, ears, brow, chin, all different.
All different.
Like, I mean, I don't want to.
It's like putting me and Eric next to, like putting me and Eric next to each other and going, look, they both have bald heads and beards.
Rudy says they're both ugly as sin.
So
nailed that.
He's saying there's two people there. Different.
Joey
I mean, I'm not ruling it out.
Apology on lizard people, aren't we?
Yes,
I'm not ruling it out.
Alex Jones has been right about a lot of shit.
Obviously, we know what the motivation would be, right? Like, if something did, in fact, happen to Fetterman, I'm not going to suggest that the man is dead. However, one of the weird indicators to me that that's possible, and I know this sounds fucking ridiculous. I like just saying this makes me sound so. This is like tinfoil hat, Heather. I always have to kind of preface, like I'm not being.
Wait. What is it?
Yeah. Yes. So do you guys remember when Giselle went on her little like trip to Niagara Falls with her kids or whatever, like she's just flying solo. This was like very shortly after he went into the hospital, and the words that she was utilizing in her post was like, we're just trying to get through this, please support us in our time of grief, so on and so forth. The language that she was using was as if someone had died, not as if her husband had just admitted himself into a psych ward.
Yeah.
And that's the only indicator to me that something like, so we know what the motivation would be though, right? To use a body double, because then you have a vote in Congress and the Senate really needs him to be back to work.
Should anything happen to him, doesn't she just take his spot?
Not necessarily. I asked a friend of
governor.
mine. The governor appoints someone.
So it'll just be another Democrat. It wouldn't matter.
It wouldn't matter if it was her or someone else. No,
Or
you're
are we
right.
jumping to conclusions?
French fried taters.
Oh my God, that was a really good.
It was a jump to conclusions, Matt. You see, it would be this Matt.
And it had different conclusions you could jump to.
Oh,
That is the
God.
worst idea I've ever heard in my entire life.
New Fetterman doesn't look like he's going to fix my mower for some biscuits and mustard and an order of French fried potatoes. Different,
Yeah.
says Patriot Girl. And Rudy says, odds the body double is a better option for policy.
90%.
It's a pick'em.
Yeah.
He's probably worse.
Oh, wouldn't that be funny though? They think they're like
Fetterman
subverting
really-
everything, and body double comes in and like votes completely against everything.
I think with Fetterman, we had at least an option for an accidental vote that was wrong. Like he voted with Republicans just accidentally because he's just not very smart. This guy may negate that. So at least on the other one, we had a maybe. It could happen. Like it's not that far off.
That's funny.
Fetterman 2.0 is much more capable at towing the line.
Shit. Boy, they do lockstep too, and they're gonna get really lockstep. Guys, is it weird that we're really starting to campaign in the beginning of 2023? Like the campaign is on.
Yeah. And the pool just keeps getting bigger. DeSantis still hasn't formally announced. Joe
If
Biden.
too many people
still
get in
hasn't
there,
formally
then Trump's
announced.
gonna take it.
Well, okay. So I saw some stuff floating around today. Did it come out today that they are officially not going to indict Donald Trump?
I didn't hear that, but I haven't been way into it today.
Yeah. I don't want to like say that.
I haven't seen
but
that.
Thought I saw that. I thought I saw that flirting. If somebody in the chat knows, let me know.
I don't think that DA has anything to lose. He indicts him and it doesn't go. He's a hero because he tried. And if he doesn't indict him, I think that's where it gets wishy-washy for him.
Yeah.
I mean, they ran on they're going to get Trump. That was their slogan.
Yeah. I think this is a pretty good spot to end the show tonight. Are you guys good? Do you have anything?
Yeah, just real quick. I think the Republicans need to shut the fuck up. Don't subpoena this guy to the goddamn Congress. Just let it play out. They're going to shoot themselves in the fucking head. This is such a ridiculous case. Just stay out of it. Let the Democrats fuck themselves. Jim Jordan subpoenaed that DA from New York to come and talk to them about charging Trump.
Oh, God.
And I was like, just stay the fuck out of it because the Democrats are going to shoot themselves in the foot. I mean,
yeah,
it's a bad case. Just stay out of it. Let them do that. Anyways, okay. Enough of my 2 cents.
No, it's perfect. Eric, Chris, thank you guys. This was a good first episode. Audience, thank you guys for your participation. Jake and Rudy, I will make sure that I write down your points. And Chris nor Eric, either one got it right today.
Nope.
So no points for either of you. I feel like
that
the
might
soup
become
Nazi
a trend.
No,
Seinfeld,
she's going to fix it.
No points for you.
No points. No soup for you.
Hi, I love you guys. You guys have a great night. Thank you, audience. We'll have intros and outros and stuff as time goes on.
Yeah.
I didn't have them ready for today, but I love you guys. You guys take care. Have a great night.
Peace.